He's a trailblazer, humanitarian, and personifies excellence. Leading the Race Disparity Unit at number 10, was made Lord in 2019, and now Homerton's newest principal, Lord Simon Woolley. I'm Chiedza, a former Homerton College student. I am so glad that you've joined me in conversation with Simon Woolley to commemorate Black History Month. And in this moment, I am so glad that you've joined us here at Cambridge's YouTube channel and at Cambridge and Homerton in general. Thank you so much for being here.
It's my pleasure. My pleasure, my honour to be having the first conversation since I've become principal and in Black History Month.
Yes. Happy Black History Month, everyone. And so, let's get to the questions.
Let's get to the questions, and I'm sure you've got plenty.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll just go from the first question that I had, which is, well,
thank you.
Principal.
Yes.
And so I wanted to ask you, what does that title, principal, mean in relation to and beyond your very decorated biography, especially as the first Black man to head an Oxbridge College?
Well, it means a lot. But first of all, welcome to my new office.
Thank you.
At Homerton. And you're the first interviewer of Homerton's principal.
Yes.
Is with you.
Thank you.
So that's great. And it means a lot to me. It means a lot to me on so many levels. Personally, you know, my own journey from a council estate in St Matthews and now to a prestigious college like Homerton. But also, I think for me, the fact that we can be a beacon to so many youngsters all around the country from council estates, black and white, disadvantaged, that they can see us, they can see me, they can see you and I having this conversation about academic excellence and about having that drive to go from A to B to success with Homerton on that journey. How about that?
I love it. And I love the Homerton because that is how I pronounce it, being a West London girl myself, and talking about origins and your backstory and about Homerton. I know that you've noted Homerton's origins in East London and your own origins growing up on a council estate, which I share with you as well. And so I wanted to ask you, following on from that, why is it important for you to note these origins?
Because it gives people hope that it doesn't matter where you start. Actually, it's about where you go. But not just where you go, but how you go. Okay. And I think that's really important because, yes, we want people to be successful, but not at any price. We want them, from this college, we want them to have the ethics, the values, the vision, the mission, if you like, that it's not just about them and their academic excellence, but it's about how they want to change the world, how they want to be, I don't know, if you like, great servants to society. Yeah. And it's one of the key reasons, as a matter of fact, why I chose Homerton. Okay. Because it seemed to me that, it's a bastion of excellence, but it has a bigger vision than academic excellence. It's about nurturing a generation of leaders that from A to Z in the class spectrum, working class, middle class, upper class, all being here with a universal mission. To make the world a better place. I mean, you know, why not think big? Why not believe that you can do great things? And if this can be a ground and a nurturing ground for that, I want to be a part of it. Wow. I want to be a part of it. Okay. I mean, like you. I mean, you. Tell me why you came. You came here. You came here, you know, as a working class kid with big ambition. Yeah. And so why did you choose?
I think it was very much part of what you were saying about seeing that Homerton's vision extended beyond the academic side, and that in fact being nurtured in the personal side, the social side, actually helps the academic side in my experience here. And so you talking about your vision right now for the college and to continue nurturing and forging that path for the students that continue to come through here is exciting for me to hear, because it's life-changing. You know, leaving university with those
credentials,
the values and the academic credentials and the values instilled by Homerton, by this college. It's something that everywhere I go, I can see that I am shaped by this environment.
What I also liked too was the conversation with the fellows, really about the fellows, but also about the alumni. That you know, once you've studied here, you take Homerton with you for the rest of your life. And you know, you become an advocate and a beacon in yourself for others to follow. I mean, I'm sure there's many young black girls that who will look at your YouTube channel and say, I want to be like her. I want to be a super sister. I want to be a super sister that's got a lot to say, a lot to do. I mean, you know.
We know of the representational imbalances that impact black women in spaces like this, and you've just mentioned young black female talent. And so, regardless, I would like to commend Cambridge and Homerton particularly for recognising and nurturing that young black female talent, and we've got titans from within Homerton, and that brings to mind Efua Sutherland, Sister Bernadette Chamboranga, Nisiti, Chelsea Kwake, Daniela Adeluwayo, amongst others, and many more to come. And so I wanted to ask you, what are the avenues for collaboration between black men, black women, black non-binary people that you anticipate facilitating at Cambridge?
Well, on that front, I mean, like many areas of my new task here, I'm so excited. I'm so excited. And I think part of my starting point is having a blank sheet. A blank sheet. And with a blank sheet, you can just fill it in. You fill it in, you colour it in, and you're only restricted by your imagination. And so I want to reach out. I want to reach out, as I said, to the length and breadth of the country, to council estates all over the place, to the celebrities, to Stormzy, to Lewis Hamilton, to the football. Why not? To the footballers, because I think that the more people we get in this conversation about inspiring, and for me, yes, I want to inspire young black men and women, but I also want to inspire young white working class kids who don't feel that these places are there for them. It is. It absolutely is. But then there are other groups that often fall off the radar. I'm particularly interested in the traveller community, the Gypsy, Roma and traveller. I've been working a lot across Europe with often a demonised group that you and I know. There's a rich talent in all of those groups, communities that we've spoken about. What we have to do is to reach out and say, this is for you too. These are the tools. Here's the pathway. And you know what happens after that? They flourish. And they flourish fantastically. And if we can do it on our watch, in our place, I think they will give back tenfold. So it's not just the right thing to do, but I think it's a fantastic investment in communities. So I'm excited. I mean, I think the thing is that we have a great team of people. They'll have to rein me in because I want to go everywhere. I want the big hitters to be beating the path to this place, because I don't know. Look, we've had a difficult year. We've had a difficult 18 months. COVID-19, Black Lives Matter. I mean, that's been a phenomenon, if you like, because out of anguish, out of the death of a black man that we saw, that I would argue that inspired a generation of new activists. 21st century civil rights activists came out of the Black Lives Matter space. And I think one of the things that I took from that as reluctant leaders, if you like, is that I would say to your generation particularly that it's time to come out of the shadows. It's time for you to be the leaders that we want you to be. And you know, if we can lean into that, if we can nurture that, we all benefit.
So you've brought up the 2020 Black Lives Matter insurgency, and in the wake of that insurgency, many people have been tentative and skeptical about some of the resultant gestures that affirm diversity's potential appeal. And so, in what ways does this appointment
become part of the broader narrative?
Yeah, and not and reject the idea of symbol and gesture.
Right. No, it's a great question, and it needs a bit of unpicking.
Yeah.
So we saw during 2020 the biggest, the longest civil rights protest perhaps this country's ever seen. When you think about the hundreds of thousands of young people that took to the streets in this country, I was black-led, but black and white young people demanding change. Now, yes, there were some kind of gestures, empty gestures, but actually, when you dug a bit deeper, there were some of the greatest conversations about race inequality that this country's ever had. I mean, for me, I started work during that time at 7 a.m. speaking to black church leaders. They'd start really early, breakfast meetings every day, to having conversations with CEOs from FTSE 100s. And I think, you know, during those conversations, though, we laid bare some uncomfortable truths about systemic inequality, and that CEOs listened to their black staff about their lived experiences and cried because they'd never heard them stories before, because people didn't feel confident to tell them. And then there were, you know, staff would say, you know, I'm in this position and I train a white person, and that white person gets promoted and I don't. And the CEOs were shocked that they thought they were good institutions, good companies, but listened, fantastically listened. So I think there's been an awakening, an acknowledgement for your listeners on YouTube. They'll be saying, okay, will it translate to change? Will it translate for me to be recognized? I think there's great potential. I think that we've got to keep our foot on the gas, remind people that it's not a zero sum. Because you win doesn't mean that they lose. Because you win, we all win. Because your talent can flourish. So we've got to keep telling the story that it's a win-win-win. And it even more than just the winning, it's also about bringing people together, right? You know, when I saw your generation taking the knee, you know, in Hyde Park, and being angry, being impatient, wanting these institutions to look deep into themselves and say, is it really inclusive? Can you do? How much better can you do? Then I can come in and start translating your demand for fantastic change. So I'm going to need you. You know, we're talking today, but I'm going to need you tomorrow and the next day and the day after.
And that what you're talking about brings to mind one of a quote of yours that I absolutely loved, which was, "I have learned that you have to seize the big opportunities that can offer dramatic change." And for me, this appointment feels like that, seizing this opportunity. And it's so nice to hear you use that word, translator. You're going to translate what, bridging gaps.
To take your energy, take your demands, and say, you know, this is for the benefit of Homerton, of Cambridge University, of our society, because, you know, that my job is to do. I mean, the Black Lives Matter kind of historic moment, because it wasn't just a moment. It's of our time.
Yeah.
It demands change. I think for me the beauty about it is opened up a lot of conversations, not just about race,
Yeah.
but also about class,
Yeah.
about our infrastructures that we've built over 500 years. Too often to lock people in, lock people out, maintain the status quo. And what your generation fantastically demanded was an honest look at how these institutions were built, and whether or not that they need a deep dive into how they can be more inclusive, more representative, and I like the dynamism. I mean, you know, when I see your generation and lots of stuff out there, there's so much dynamism that our job is to harness it and run with it.
Following up from that, acknowledging what you're saying about how right now, not only institutionally but societally, we exist amidst a shifting paradigm, and more widely, blackness itself is not only being viewed as a culture, but as a philosophy and a political point of view.
Right.
And so I wanted to ask, in what ways do you think Homerton will continue to contribute to that shift and to promoting allyship, like you were saying, about collaboration across?
Well, as you said before, I mean, you asked the question, why Homerton?
Yeah.
Why me, why Homerton? And, you know, when I see its roots in the East End of London, I mean, East End of London, an impoverished working class, right? And yet, so you can have the working class, but still seek to aspire to greatness. And so when you put the two things together, then you become a beacon. And of course, yes, it's saying to working class parents, working class kids, that this is a place for you. But it's also for the middle classes. It's also for those with privilege. Yeah. Because if we all come together, share ideas, value each other, understand each other better, then I think we can do great things. That a friend of mine often says to me, you put good people in a room and great things can happen. And I want to put society's young men and women in a room, good men and women, so great things can happen. And I just think I want academic excellence, but I don't want people to feel they don't have a sense of belonging. And you know, I love the idea of Cambridge and Oxbridge and the spaces of excellence. Belonging is really important. That people can feel that they understand me. They want me to flourish. They don't want me to feel any sense of inferiority. Of course, you know, when you come into these places, you're like this. I mean, that's
I remember. I was like,
I mean, I did the same when I walked into the Westminster Palace and the House of Lords. Everything's gold, and I'm like this. Yeah. Right. Yeah. But then I said, hang on a second, but I belong here too. Yeah. I've got something to contribute. That's what we want for our students at Homerton. Sense of belonging.
And thank you so much for defining belonging, because one of the questions I had for you was actually related to Cambridge University alumni and your friend and peer, Diane Abbott, who said that "here to stay, here to fight" was one of the favourite slogans in demonstration in the 80s. And so not only is that a powerful slogan, but the occasion in which it was levied, demonstration, resonates with our contemporary situation right now. And I think demonstration is a useful word because it's worth thinking about how it goes beyond representation. It encompasses being the change you want to see and confrontation, challenge and fight. And so in what ways will your tenure encompass these? And also, besides belonging and hopefully demonstration, what word or what phrase from our discussion do you want our viewers to bear in mind?
Sure. Well, let's go to the last question first. That it's time for your generation to come out of the shadows of leadership.
Okay.
And be the leaders that society wants you to be. I can't tell you how important that is. I mean, that I feel as though I'm a disciple of Dr. Martin Luther King. And you have to remember that King's generation that changed the world were your age. They were your age. The Freedom Riders that travelled on the buses, were firebombed, were your age. And we need to be reminded, you don't have to wait to become a principal to change the world.
Okay.
That you can do that. I'm also a fan of Diane Abbott. I think one of our lecturers here wrote a fantastic biography. Robin, what's his name? Robin?
Yes, from Homerton.
Robin Bonds. I've got the book. I've got the book.
Yeah, so have I. So have I.
Have you signed it?
No,
we'll get him to sign
I got it for my birthday.
Did you?
Yeah.
So I'm a big fan of Bunce, and I'm even bigger fan of Super Sister Diane Abbott.
Yes.
Because she's paved the way. She was the first black woman to be in Parliament, and she's still fighting. And she took a lot of abuse. Actually, she's one of the most vilified by some wretched people in social media and stuff. And she said, "Look, I have to do what I need to do, and I think that we've got to bring our heroes and sheroes to dinner at Homerton, and say we love you, we respect you, and so that's on my to-do list."
Yes.
Will you come back? Will you come back when we invite Diane?
Of course.
And get her to sign the book.
We can get our books
signed.
Yes.
Let's do that.
So you've written before about the synergy between moral imperative and national or institutional self-interest.
Right.
In what ways do you think the two become apparent in Cambridge's steps to become more inclusive?
Well, I think Cambridge's been on a great journey way before I got here.
Okay.
And that also excited me too. And I think the moral imperative from Cambridge, coming from Cambridge University, is to demand, not to ask, but to demand that people look different, students look different, that there's a greater sense of less of the Eurocentric, but more global vision, if you like. And then I think the second thing is that and I know Homerton is really leaning into this. Yes, we want people to leave with double first, but even more than that, they want people to leave that are good people, who can do great things. I was a mature student. I left school with no O-levels. But I knew that I needed knowledge. I knew that I needed to read more, to not just for myself, but to get on. But it's not just about having a first or a double first. It's what you do with it. And I think here in Homerton, we're very interested on when people leave here, that we can be proud that our alumni will really have that energy to do great things, rather than boast. Rather than just boast about they're the top academic, because there's enough of those, right?
Yeah.
There's enough of those. We don't want no one from this place to be looking down on anyone. We want people to be lifting people up. And saying that we do great things together.
And from what you're speaking about now, I can feel in the room, you guys can't feel this, but I can feel the sense of urgency coming across from you.
Oh my gosh.
Switching on the news, I see the urgency in the world right now.
I'm impatient for change.
Yeah.
I'm impatient. I'm impatient. I know that it's a marathon, not a sprint. I get that. But it's our time. It is, and I say our time. I think it's those that are signed up for a more inclusive for a more fairer world. It's our time. That after this double pandemic of COVID and George Floyd, that I want it to be, if you like, a 1945 moment.
Yeah.
From out of the ashes. It's not just about building back better. People talk about that. I want to build new better. And you can see, maybe you can sense my excitement about being the principal here. I'm lucky, very lucky, because the outgoing principal, Jeff Ward, has given me a fantastic platform. One.
Okay.
Two, he's given me a great team. I mean, they just, I thought I was excited until I met I met them, and they were doing cartwheels.
Yeah.
So, I think we're a team, and I think that if you sew a golden thread between the team and the staff to do big things, watch this space.
Of course. And I also see a golden thread amongst the student cohort here.
Okay.
Because you're talking about the excitement.
Right.
When you were appointed,
Really?
the excitement out there,
Really?
and so we know, I just love the feeling of excitement here at Homerton.
So no pressure, right?
No pressure. It's okay. Everyone's excited together, which and you have repeatedly used that word, our.
It's our. It's
not,
our time.
yeah.
I mean, I'm just lucky, fortunate to be handed the baton. I'm the next custodian of Homerton College, but it's time limited. We've got a lot to do, but it's definitely we, not just me.
So you discussed being a mature student,
Yes.
if I'm correct.
Yeah.
So you returned to formal study via an access course, and I myself got here through many an access course.
Gotcha.
And so access is great and self-explanatory,
Yeah.
but what have you observed from your time and reflecting on this time now is a challenge that continues to face access in terms of meeting the demand to tackle racial and class inequality,
Right.
and how do you think we can overcome it?
Yeah. Well, the access courses back in the day were really important, because what it meant is that it's never too late to learn. It's life learning.
Okay.
What was significant, though, what I felt, because I went back to the access course when I think I was 27, 28, and so I already had 10 years of working life, and what I didn't realise until I was told that I brought that to bear, that lived life experience of fending for yourself in an academic space. I think one advantage that I had, which you don't have, and it's something that it troubles me, is that I didn't have to pay.
Okay.
And so, leaving work to go back to school because I wanted the knowledge was an easier process than for somebody that not only is not getting paid, but then has to pay. And so that's unfortunate. And maybe getting more bursaries, giving more people opportunities, so the access is as easy as possible. Because I think that mature students have a lot to offer.
Okay.
When they come into the space, because it's not just a given trajectory.
Okay.
School, college, university. It's something you had to think about.
Okay.
Which I thought was important.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that wisdom and for bringing input about this perspective of mature students, because Homerton as well, as you know, the community here is so mixed. And so it's important to, I guess, note how people are on different points of their trajectory, and how your vision for the college and the mission for
what you have to
beyond.
offer, what you have to offer during in those different intersections. I mean, it's funny that of course that some of the students didn't know how to cook or look after themselves. So, I mean, I was a fully formed adult and fending for myself, and I saw these young kids. I said, don't worry, and I would invite some of them to come for dinner because I wasn't eating so well.
No.
But but the other thing too is that I learned from them because I'd forgotten how to learn. I'd forgotten how to to read a book and to do exams. And they'd look at me and they'd call me old timer. I was only 27. So it was a good interaction. I fed them and they taught me how to take the exams and get decent marks.
A nice exchange. Yeah. What do you think about Stormzy's contribution to incoming students from underrepresented backgrounds? Always a tongue twister.
It's always a tongue twister.
And always a tongue twister. And with the increase in cohorts, I mean, when I came in 2017, Cambridge didn't look like this. And so what do you also think about increasing the number of black students?
I am such a big fan of Stormzy. I mean, this is a proper working class hero who uses his talent. I mean, his lyrics, his energy, and there's a lot of his generation that could just drive the big car, have all the bling, and yet he said no. I want to give. I want to inspire. And yes, he wants to inspire young black kids, but he also wants to inspire working class kids. So it's not just the vision for him is for people in his audience, predominantly black, but not exclusively. What I like about it is that it's got people talking. It's got institutions. It's got institutions that are looking and saying, yeah, you know what, we got to do better. And of course, he's got a lot of flack, but I always say that you're not doing great stuff if you're not getting flack. The flack comes with the territory.
Yeah.
And I think what you have to do is to keep to your lane and say, we could be more representative, we could be more inclusive. That's a given. We're having the conversation, and I hope I get to meet him now. I hope that he comes to Homerton.
That dinner.
That dinner.
That's
the one. And we bring others in too.
Yeah.
And I promise you this, that we'll continue the conveyor belt for young black talent. But it won't be just young black talent too. We want young, disadvantaged white talent. And it's never been just about us, people of colour. It's never been that. It's been that we want to be recognised too. And I think Stormzy is doing a fantastic role. But he would be the first to say that this is just a starting point. I hope to be working with him and others about looking at boards, FTSE 100 boards. Yes. To be more inclusive, to be more dynamic in terms of their pitch to those that are often locked out. So it's a good conversation, and I'm glad he's leading it, and I hope to support him and others that are doing stuff in this space. I don't know whether we can talk about a Stormzy fellowship, because fingers crossed, the world's our oyster right now, and we've still got that blank sheet. Remember the blank sheet I spoke about?
Yeah.
That we've got to fill in.
Yeah.
We've got to colour in. So let's see. And
you just mentioned now, you said something about lanes.
Right.
What new lane do you envisage taking Homerton in? And what does that mean for the rest of Cambridge?
What does that look? I was excited to see the mission that Homerton had. So I'm not taking Homerton out its lane.
Okay.
I'm enjoying the ride. I mean, What I want to do is to bring some Simon Woolliness, if you like,
to the lane.
To the lane. And you know, anything that they say, I want it bigger.
Yeah.
I want it faster. I want it more colourful. But the lane is set, and I want to be part of a great team. But I would argue it's not just about the Homerton lane, it's about the Cambridge lane.
Cambridge, yeah.
The Vice-Chancellor reached out from the get-go and said, congratulations, when are we meeting?
Oh.
When are we plotting and planning to make this place a better place?
Yeah.
I think, as you said before, there's excitement about my appointment. There are, I think, 5 or 6 other new appointments in the colleges. We're on this list. This WhatsApp group.
Group chat.
So we are the fresher heads, if you like. So you know the freshers will have their group, the student freshers. So this is the heads of house freshers. We're all a bit nervous, all a bit nervous on this wonderful journey at Cambridge. But I think that we feel that we're in a great academic space. So let's see.
Thank you so much for gracing us with all this wisdom. And I'm actually upset that I'm leaving now, because I know Homerton is just going to have such a good time, and I'm so excited for what this college will look like. And every time I visit, I know I'll just see the glow and see the impact. So thank you so much for sitting down with us and for answering my questions.
Thank you. Well, thank you for being the first interview. My first interview as principal, and I hope we'll have many more, because I think that we can continue this conversation, because we have lots to talk about, and much more to do.
100%. The conversation is ongoing.
Ongoing.
And there's a blank piece of paper to
go.
fill. So
You've got that now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
Thank you all so much for joining us today. And don't forget to head over to Homerton's YouTube channel to watch Simon answer 21 of my university tag questions. I'll catch you all on the other side. Bye.
That's it. Well done. Well done.
Thank you.